Welcome, listeners, to Keeping Up with the Nerds Variety Hour, hosted by Rene Bravo and Bryan Quevedo. If you are a new listener of the show, please follow us on our socials on Instagram at Keepin' With The Nerds and Twitter at Keepin' With Nerd. Our podcasts are recorded in Whittier, California, and are posted on Podbean, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Google Podcasts every Wednesday at 11:30. Thank you, and enjoy the show.
We're good to go.
Are we recording?
Yes.
Yay.
Yay.
No surprises this time for me.
No.
Just jumping straight into it.
Just getting into it. That's basically what because this is just one topic today.
Okay. So, you know how like the last 2 weeks I've come up to you and I said, okay, you know what we need to invent?
What?
So I kind of should just start writing a note, like in a notebook.
Yeah.
Like every idea that comes to mind. Because I swear to you.
Brian's great idea.
Yeah, like no, seriously. Nutritional jello that has all the supplements necessary to go about your day so you don't have to waste time eating.
That's sad, but okay.
Baby food for adults.
Yes.
So that way you can just consume the food necessary in a rapid pace.
Mm-hmm.
And then there was something else I thought of today. And it just completely left my mind.
What?
I don't remember.
Oh.
Like I was trying to remember.
Was it
I'm
in
just
the same
like, why?
realm?
Yeah.
Or,
It had to do something with sleep, I think.
Oh, because last week we did talk about how like sleep is important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I can't remember what it was.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't know. I feel like it was a great idea because I had one of those like aha moments. Like, I got it.
Yeah.
You know? And then I completely left after we were working on some stuff today. And now I can't remember. So I need to start writing a notebook.
Okay.
Just like kind of like my ideas of like what we should do. And then no one sees it. The only way you understand or even know about my great ideas is by listening to this podcast.
There you go.
Yeah, exactly. So just
all right.
like, yeah.
Yeah. You should get a book, a little notepad, or like one of those journals.
I should have. Yeah, I think I should. A tiny one, a pocket-sized one.
Pocket.
So that way I can
journal.
pocket. Oh, yes.
Well,
you know what? They probably haven't made those yet, so that's a great idea. Pocket journals by Keeping Up with the Nerds.
What is it? Copyright.
We're copywriting it right now. Someone comes up and is like, yeah, those already exist.
Those already exist, guys.
Yeah, no. Hey, before we actually start with the intros and stuff, because it is going to be a pretty long episode.
Yes.
Normal size, but still, it's like we still got
a
pretty hefty topic.
Yeah.
It's a titan of an issue here. Yeah, so quick little shout out.
Yes.
Tell us the story.
So we have a listener on the show that does stickers and buttons or any sort of apparel items as well. They are called @ToonGeeks on Instagram. Toon Geek or Toon Geeks. We'll have it down on the down below in the description below. But they were so kind to giving us a pack of stickers for free for me and Brian.
Yeah.
So we got 3 stickers, which are they're so nice and so beautifully done. One of my favorite is the Joker dressed up as Beetlejuice and like that big old sandworm thing behind him. Another one is Pinky and the Brain, but they are the I guess the elevator.
Tower of Terror,
and right behind them is Tower of Terror.
Uh-huh.
And the other one are the Animaniacs, but they are just, I guess, either, I'm sorry if I don't know what crossover you were doing with it, but it was just they're in a different color scheme, if anything.
Oh, the Animaniacs?
Yeah, the Animaniacs.
I have to look at it. Maybe I can figure it out. Anyways, do you think they want to be introduced by name as well, or?
Well, I think right now we'll just shout them out as for their Instagram because I think they're a small business and trying to get their business up and running. They go to different vendors as well too. I know they're working on some new thing that's going to happen in Los Angeles right now that they're working on, especially because with COVID and everything, but they're trying to get it going. I think later this month.
Gotcha. I'm looking at the Animaniacs. It's the Hitchhiking Ghosts from the Haunted Mansion.
Oh, that's what it is.
Yeah.
So she is a big nerd, but then also a big Disney nerd as well too. So that's why there's a theme going on here, guys. You can tell
it shows
a lot, and their Instagram is great. They do, and they have like good little sales sometimes, and they have little flash sales. So follow them. Was it @ToonGeek?
@ToonGeek.
at Toon Geek, guys. So thank you so much for the stickers. We love them here, and thank you so much for your support as well too.
Thank you. When Rene told me about this, I got a little bit giddy. I'll be honest.
He got really happy.
Yeah, because it's still kind of new to me when people when you tell us like, oh yeah, people actually listen to us. I'm like, oh my god. Like I don't know. It's like I've yet because you work in the store.
Yeah.
So I think you have more of those interactions.
Yes, I have people constantly either coming in, or they'll see the flyer and they'll just they'll just be like, oh, that's cool, or like, oh yeah, So it's cool, Bryan should hang around the store more so he can get that.
I'm trying. The day someone stops me, I was like, hey, you're from the podcast, Keeping Up with the Nerds. I'll be like, okay, I don't know how to act. Socially awkward.
I remember when that first happened, when I first did a podcast, and it was just so funny. I'm working here at the store, and I'm doing the current back issues, and I'm talking to someone. I'm just casually talking to a customer, and they're like going like this as I'm talking more and more, and they're shaking their head like, huh? What? And they're like, wait a minute, are you Rene? And I didn't have my name tag on either. So they go, are you Rene? And I'm like, kind of like stunned. I'm like, yes. Why? He goes, oh, I listened to your podcast. I'm like, oh, thank you. Mind you, this was early on when I first did a podcast here at the store. But then obviously, now I'm doing this podcast, and it's still weird to have people either like I said, customers come in, just customers that I've seen for years, and now that I'm doing a podcast, they tell me like, oh yeah, are you going to talk about this? I'm like, yeah, what? Wait, you listen to my podcast? They go, yeah, of course I listen to your podcast. I'm like, thank you, first of all, but it's just, yeah, it's still
fairly new.
It's still fairly new to have people tune in, to you, and listen to my voice all the time, or at least some of their days.
No, I get you.
Once a week at least.
I get you. Should we start with this episode?
Yes. So, if you guys don't know or don't have HBO Max, which is wrong with you, you should have HBO Max because it's a good deal right now.
Is this still $11.99?
This is not a sponsor. Just saying,
not sponsored.
Not sponsored. Just saying it's a good deal, especially with COVID and everything. Basically, on March 31st, which was a Wednesday this week, as we record here on Friday, April 2nd. But when this episode is released, it would be on the 7th. On the 7th, this episode will be released. Me and Bryan had the pleasure to went to the local theater here at Whittier Village Cinema because they have opened. And they're taking COVID restrictions as well too. There's gaps, rows of seats that are empty as well too. We had the pleasure to watch Godzilla versus Godzilla versus Kong.
Yes, the way it's supposed to be.
Now it wasn't as how Bryan saw King of Monsters, but because of this year, at least we had the pleasure to at least seeing in the theater.
I'll tell you that once we do the intro, because we got to roll into the intro.
All right. So that's what we're going to be talking about this entire episode, guys. It's just basically our review and our thoughts of Godzilla versus Kong.
Yes. Are we ready?
Let's do it.
Let's go.
Hello, citizens. Welcome to Keeping Up with the Nerds Variety Hour, coming to you from 12920 Philadelphia Street, Whittier, California, aiming to be Whittier's #1 podcast for all things nerdy. I'm your host, Bryan. Rene.
And welcome to the show, issue 42.
42. Wow.
Almost at the big 50.
No.
Yeah, halfway through 100, which is great. That means that we're doing great.
Yes.
So we're rolling. We're hot. We're great right now. Let's keep this energy going.
It would be issue 52 would be our year.
I think so. Yeah.
Anniversary.
52 or 53.
I have to read. Oh yeah, no, it would be 53 because we did issue 0.
June 8th is our anniversary.
Yeah.
Yes. So like Rene said before we did the intro, we are going to be talking about Godzilla versus Kong. So fair warning, this is a spoiler-heavy issue. Yeah. If you have not seen the movie, you can watch it on HBO Max for the next 20-something days because it's only going to be on there for 30 days.
Yes.
Watch it, then listen to us.
Yes.
If you don't mind the spoilers, great, keep listening. If you've seen it and don't care for the spoilers, great, keep listening. Yeah. But this is your warning. Do not come to us and tell us that we did not give you a warning, because it is heavy spoiler
Definitely.
territory.
Yes.
We will tell you if there is a winner. We will tell you about all the little cameos. We will tell you everything we think about.
And we will tell you how Bryan reacted in the theater.
Yes.
As well, too.
Excited. Are we ready to go on?
Yes, let's do it. Let's
Listeners.
open our drinks as well,
yes.
too.
G Fuel!
So I was able to require G Fuel, but not only just G Fuel canned, but this is Sonic the Hedgehog Peach Rings Limited Edition G Fuel.
Oh my god.
Is it? Does it taste like? Does it taste like?
Moving around at the speed of sound.
Let me see, hold
Got
on.
places to go. Gotta follow my rhythm and stick around.
That tastes
gotta
exactly
keep moving on.
like peach rings.
Yes, it does.
Wow.
Yeah, it's
G Fuel,
Sonic
man.
the Hedgehog themed.
Wow, that's pretty good.
I'm in love. This is my new one. This is my new favorite one.
Yeah, no, definitely. I'm gonna get this again.
As a Sonic fan, I approve.
I approve of this.
I approve.
I approve of this drink.
All right, we ready to go on with this
Let's
podcast?
do it.
All right, so we're going to try to split this up into 3 segments.
Yes.
We're going to try to behave because there is a lot to talk about.
Yeah, we could easily just like word vomit everything that
Yes,
we wanted to
but
say.
we're not gonna.
No, we're gonna try to keyword to stay within the guidelines of our own rules here.
Are you going to behave?
That's the question for you, because in the theater I was like, damn. A little tangent, but just not. It was not really a tangent. Just like a little fact. When me and Bryan went on our bro date and watched Godzilla versus Kong,
It was our retreat.
yeah, we watched it, and when the fight scenes were starting, Bryan automatically like went from he went from sitting back to sitting forward. And I don't think you noticed it, because I'm watching you and you're sitting forward and your hands are on your lap and your elbows are kind of like out a bit, and you're like basically like a little kid watching like a week, like Saturday morning cartoons. And the whole time when like one blow was going to the other, you were like, what? Come on, yeah, you're all. And then like after the first fight ended, spoiler guys, as soon as the first fight ended, the first fight technically went to Godzilla. And he's like, your boy was a little bitch. And I'm like, damn.
Because it's like, come on. I don't know what to say anymore.
You probably didn't realize how you looked.
So I realized that my stance went from back to forward. That I realized. I didn't realize that my hands were like on
You
my
were
knees.
kind of,
Like,
if not, you were like anticipating like the fight too. You're like, come on, here we go.
because they were so stern, like they were so strict on the fact that like someone was going to lose.
Yeah.
Like someone was going to fall. I didn't want my boy Godzilla to die.
Yeah,
all
that
right?
was the biggest thing for you, is that you didn't want King Kong to win at all. You
No.
wanted Godzilla to win.
Godzilla, atomic lizard with spicy breath, needs to win.
Yeah,
all right.
but I got a giant ape that can move around with a battle axe. that can,
Opposable thumbs.
with opposable. These is what makes him get the advantage. These.
but spicy breath.
Still doing it. There's a TikTok that I think I sent it to you, but I'm not sure you watched it. It was like they talked about Godzilla versus King Kong, and he's like, why do you think King Kong's
Oh, it's the guy with the hat, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw that.
Because he's got these, and he's still doing it. He's like, stop that! He's like moving his thumb around the entire time.
All right, so we already misbehaved in the first like 5 minutes of this
Sorry,
conversation.
we had to get that out of the way because it was just funny. I think the listeners deserved my
reaction.
to hear your reaction, because you were really hyped. If anything, you were more hyped for this movie than I was. I was just excited.
Yes.
I was more excited just to get back into a theater and watching a movie, but at the same time, I was excited to watch Godzilla versus Kong.
So we're gonna split this up into 3 parts.
Yes,
Did it work?
that's the number one. Did it work?
Did it work?
Yes.
Amongst the other films,
Mm-hmm.
which one stood like the best
Out
out
four.
of all 4?
All 4. Okay.
Okay, and how did this rank up against the other ones essentially?
Okay.
And then 5, the outcome of the fights. But essentially,
Got it.
like the analysis of like what we think,
Uh-huh.
what we saw,
Yeah.
you know. And then we can talk about like, you know,
Uh-huh.
in there as well, like where this is going to lead into,
Yeah.
what the future of the MonsterVerse is going to be,
Uh-huh.
and so on and so forth. So let's go ahead and start with, did this movie work? I'm going to start by saying this. So I was really sitting on this like overnight after we watched it because I was really trying to think of like the best possible way to explain what this movie is. And I wrote it on Facebook here. I said,
Oh yeah, I saw.
So the way I said it was, remember a time when you were a kid and you pretended that two mega-sized action figures duked it out over a fake cityscape. They were both from different franchises. The story in your head was in total shambles, but it didn't matter because all you thought about was how epic the fight was going to be in your head. Yeah, that's this movie. That's essentially what this movie is, and that's all I wanted the movie to be. I wasn't expecting a great story. I wasn't expecting the lore to be picked up or anything like that. This movie was essentially two different monsters from two different franchises coming from two different parts of the world, meeting together and duking it out to see who was the king of the Titans, essentially. Right?
Yes.
So in that sense, did it work?
Yes, I think so. In this one.
And are you satisfied with what you saw?
Yes and no.
Okay, explain. So why did it work for you?
So the reason why it worked for me is because this was something that they've been setting up since Kong Skull Island. I know that it was announced that they were going to be doing a MonsterVerse when the first Godzilla came out. I know that they were going to be stretching that out. They were going to build a world essentially, you know, and then it was confirmed in Kong Skull Island that they were going to have, you know, Godzilla versus King Kong. What I liked was basically the build up in here. It was good. I liked what I did enjoy was basically the fight scenes were really good. Kong, I think because I like Kong so much is that he had more development in this movie. But at the same time, like what makes me kind of go split is that they didn't do the same for Godzilla. But at the same time, Godzilla doesn't really need that. He doesn't.
So what you're saying is this was more of a King Kong movie.
It was a King Kong movie. It was a King Kong sequel.
Okay, it was a Kong Skull Island sequel.
Yeah. Kong Skull Island.
Even though Godzilla was the first name on that poster.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I kind of was like, you know, it was... I enjoyed it again because I am a Kong fan. I like Kong more in this franchise. I like Kong more, and because he was just really interesting. And I liked how they did it. The way he fought was really cool in Skull Island. I loved how he uses stuff around the environment as weapons and stuff. He just doesn't, you know. And then how he moves really fast, I really liked, especially in this movie as well too. But yeah, that's pretty much it.
Okay.
You know,
for me, I mean, the answer is obvious. Yes, it did work. Yeah. This movie worked for me. It did what it wanted to do. It did what I wanted it to do, which was just give me monster fights. You know, that's all this movie basically was. Godzilla 2014 was one of those movies that was just kind of like, okay, you're trying to set up the story being told around Godzilla. Right? And then Kong Skull Island was a better version of that because you got the storytelling elements of Kong in his island, what he was doing, what was the reason as to why they went to Skull Island, what was his purpose, and like all this other stuff, right? They developed him well enough there. Then they went with King of Monsters, which was like Godzilla basically just fighting. It was like Fight Night. Like 5 different versions of Fight Night, essentially. Yeah. And that's all we got. Like, we tried to get some story to Godzilla, but there wasn't that much of it. But it was just a bunch of nonstop fighting, and that's all I ever wanted from that,
that's
right?
pretty much it.
That's all it was.
When you hear Godzilla versus Kong, you just expect to the first thing you think is like, ooh, how's that fight going to be?
You expect King of Monsters on steroids, essentially.
Essentially.
And it worked. Now, we were talking about this outside once we finished the movie, and we said, you know, this kind of reminds me of like old school like Power Rangers in a way, right? When the Power Rangers would have like those crossover days or those crossover episodes. Yeah. It kind of reminded me of that because something funny that we were talking about was that none of these characters from the franchises interacted with each other at no point.
No, and I called them on the way home, I called them Godzilla's groupies. And Kong's groupies as well too. Yeah, that's another thing is that in order to make this a crossover, like a full-fledged, satisfying crossover movie, you have to have all the characters, not just the 2 main ones, but you got to have everyone meet.
I disagree with you there. Because, okay, so the reason I disagree with you is because the human characters never really played an important role. Not in King of Monsters, and not in Kong and Godzilla vs. Kong.
Yeah.
They never played an important role besides being minor subplots to advancing the story with dialogue because the monsters can't talk.
They can't talk, obviously. Yeah,
it's just that's all it is. And the humans are there to basically translate what is going to happen and what was the purpose. In King of Monsters, Godzilla and Ghidorah fought because Ghidorah doesn't belong on Earth and Godzilla is king of all monsters, essentially. And the natural balance is in disarray because Ghidorah is awoken. And we get that because the human beings are the ones that say it. In this one, that's the exact same thing. Kong gets a development because the little girl that he's sort of protect talks to him using sign language. So we get that character development from Kong. If she was never around, there would be no proper explanation as to why he is essentially intellectual, right? Same thing with Godzilla. Why is Godzilla acting, all angry and destroying cities for no reason? If it wasn't for Millie Bobby Brown's character and her, side posses and whatnot.
Yeah, that was the kid from that played Firefist in Deadpool.
That's right. That's where I recognize him from. Okay.
And then the podcast guy plays the voice of Miles Morales' dad in Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse.
I did not like that guy.
Really?
Yeah, because he was a full-on conspiracy dude.
Okay, the character, but I like the actor because
I have no problem with the actor
because I love that actor from Atlanta. He's so great in Atlanta. But it's weird because in Atlanta he plays like this like thug rapper dude, and he's just like he's just so very intimidating. And then when you see him play this character in Godzilla vs. Kong, it's the exact opposite. He's just being kind of ridiculous. But I mean, I'm glad he has that range. He can switch it. But it was really a little off-putting at first.
Yeah.
But I find it kind of
funny.
Just funny at the end. I mean, I didn't hate him. I did get like, come on. Like when at the end of the movie, when he talks to the dad, he's like, can I have you on my podcast? I'm like, dude, don't be that podcast guy. You're making us look bad, dude. Like after
we're not all conspiracy theorists.
Yeah, like after this whole like tragedy, the first thing you're going to talk to the person is about, oh, you want to come on my podcast? No, dude, no. Feel the room.
Now that you said it that way, I respect the actor. Yeah, because now, again, I forgot he was in Atlanta, and that switch is so weird. Now that I think about it, yeah,
it's good. So that's why I like that character is because the actor had that range to do that.
Okay,
he could play this very, like I said, very intimidating character that if you met him in real life, you're just like, dude, oh no, I don't want to mess with him. But then from Godzilla vs. Kong, you're just like, dude, you're being ridiculous right now, But that's cool. I like that.
Let me ask you this.
Yes,
okay, because these movies, it was about an hour and 40 minutes, right?
Yeah.
And we have two different monsters here that are fighting out for...
Which, again, really shocking that this movie's an hour and 40. Well under 2 hours.
Well under 2 hours.
Yeah.
It felt short.
Yes.
But it was satisfying, which I'm trying to understand why, because you would think that there'd be more.
I think, but the thing is that I think if we did get more, it would be nothing but human story.
Bingo.
Which I don't want.
You hit the nail.
Yeah.
You hit the nail. And I was about to say that too.
It basically would have been the first Godzilla movie. And you don't really care about that. No. I felt like basically...
It was good. It's just bad.
They showed us all the fights with the monsters that they filmed or that they wanted to do. I feel like they showed us all of that. And then the rest was basically like, oh yeah, we got to put some human dialogue here. And then we got to put, what is his name? Alexander Skarsgård's character, we got to have him do this and stuff.
So they were the ones essentially, like we said before, the humans were there to translate for the monsters to try to get us to understand what's going on with these sorts of things. Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
And in that, like, it's so funny to me because we were talking about this and saying that the movie felt short, but it was satisfying, and it's for that same reason. We only wanted the monster fights. If it was storytelling, we wanted as little as possible, but we only wanted it enough to get us to the next portion.
Yeah.
Because we knew that Godzilla and Kong were not going to fight just once. They were going to fight multiple times.
Which, again, I hated that they every movie they introduce new human characters. And I really don't like that because, like, it just doesn't make me... I think that's the reason why people don't like them, is because you don't feel anything for them because they weren't in the last movie. Other than Millie Bobby Brown and her dad.
But he was even thrown out. He only popped up in, like, two major scenes.
And that was it, right?
Yeah.
No one else. And they brought in these new characters for Kong, which, again, I was like, oh, okay, well, I understand, but I don't care for these characters. I don't care what happens to them, and I hated that they did the same thing for Kong for King of Monsters. They introduced a lot of newer characters, but still kept the guy from he's from The Last Samurai, I believe. And he was from the original Godzilla movie.
He's the one that sacrifices himself to go and wake up Godzilla in his temple.
He was the only older or
the reoccurring character, because Bryan Cranston's character was supposed to be a major character in the first one, and he ends up dying.
They marketed it as he was going to be a major character,
and then it just dies in like the first 30 minutes.
And then Aaron Johnson obviously, got backlash from being in that movie as well too, so he's not returning as well. But they introduced all these other characters in King of Monsters, but then don't even bring those characters back into Godzilla vs. Kong.
I can understand why.
Yeah.
Like, why? Look, okay. So I'm trying not to like defend poor writing in that sense.
No, but
it has it makes sense because again, the focus becomes on the monsters. When you're so focused on like paying attention to who's introduced now, why do I have to feel for these characters? Why do I care? It becomes irrelevant. And think about in Godzilla versus Kong. You're talking about two kids that ditched their homes to go to Hong Kong.
They didn't
and the entire time,
you were thinking that they didn't go to Hong Kong. They were forced.
They were forced because they got captured.
But again, they left their houses and stuff.
And no one cared about I forget the kid's name, the boy.
Yeah, he was so forgetful, honestly.
Yeah, like even at the end when the dad hugs.
I think his name was Josh. Joshua. Yeah.
So, what's Millie Bobby Brown's character name? I can't remember.
I don't remember.
But when her and her dad interact, it's like okay, yes, because he misses her.
Yeah.
And
you feel that you're like, oh, cool. They're reunited.
Are you looking it up?
Yeah, I'm looking it up. When they see it, oh, reunited, it feels so good. So it's
like they reunite.
Yeah.
And there's that heartfelt moment, but then the kid. Like his parents aren't even worried about it.
No, they're not even there. You would think that, oh yeah, your son is with my daughter. I will take you to go see your son.
But that shows, Rene, how irrelevant those characters are.
So Millie Bobby Brown was Maddie.
That's right.
Maddie. That's right. Now it's coming back to me, kind of.
Look, all I cared about was Godzilla and Kong and the other monsters that were there.
Really, why we saw that movie, honestly.
Yeah.
But even then, So and then we get introduced to what's his name? The guy that created. I guess we can spoil it now.
Mechagodzilla.
He
was never even introduced in King of Monsters, which is when it's set up for Apex.
I thought they would bring back what's his name from King of Monsters.
Yeah, no.
The guy that played Tyrion Lannister.
Yeah.
No, it was just basically a subplot that like, oh, they have the head, and I guess we're supposed to know that they sold the head to Apex, what's his name? Walter Simmons. They sold it to him, and he just basically created Mechagodzilla from there.
Okay, so let me. Okay, I'm ready to defend this. Okay, I'm ready to defend this.
I'm just saying. I mean, that's the thing is that like I'm not trying to. Again, on my side, I'm really not trying to like discard this movie at all. I enjoy this movie. I really like this movie. But the thing is that for me to actually love this movie was that if you had to. I'm always a fan of continuity.
Yeah.
Continuity is very important to me. You mentioned one little thing that happened in a previous movie, I'm automatically going to be like, oh, at least they are aware.
Mm-hmm.
But when you basically just like don't even bother just like going back into like, oh, well, let's see what we did in the last one. No, they were just like, I'm sorry, I almost said.
Oh, no.
It's just like, forget everything. We're just going to move forward, and if anything else, we'll just basically, somewhat reference it. We'll just lightly sprinkle it, like, oh yeah, that happened, but not relevant in this whole entire movie.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm ready to defend this movie and why this idea works. Like, I understand your argument in the sense that, like, continuity is important, even when it comes to, like, the minor characters.
Yeah.
Like, why are you introducing someone new when you could have just used someone from the previous movie, right? That makes sense. Renee, let me start by saying this. Who are the stars of these movies?
Well, I mean, it's the Titans.
It's the Titans.
Yes,
That's all that matters, right? And if you have some snippets of story, you're going to be using human characters.
Yeah.
If you are trying to tell a story under 2 hours, why are you going to spend half of the movie with monster fights and then half with a story that might not even work? You understand? So if you're trying to spend time with character development and bringing these old characters back and all this other stuff, you're running the risk of potentially losing audience attention. You mentioned Godzilla 2014. That entire movie was basically human dialogue, and we saw Godzilla towards the end. Did it work? No, because it failed in the storytelling aspect of characters. The reason why these other movies work is because the focus is on the Titans, right? And this is what Godzilla and Kong did versus Kong. This is what that movie did. It only took the elements of human interaction that worked and put more focus on the Titans. It looked at you like the type of people that are going to say, like, okay, continuity matters and all this other stuff, and why are you introducing all these characters and so on and so forth. It only gave you the necessary details to be satisfied to then move forward onto the fights, right? Because you're not going to, these are not cinematic masterpieces.
No.
They're not going to be nominated for anything.
No.
Not even like for CG and effects or nothing like that.
Yeah.
Right? But these are movies that essentially you go in, you grab your popcorn and your drink, you sit down and you watch two CGI monsters duke it out.
Yeah.
We talked about this before. When we think of like the old Godzilla movies, these guys were men in suits.
Yeah,
they're actors in suits. And it was really wonky to see. That's true. Even consider like the old school Mighty Morphin Power Ranger show. It was a dude in a Megazord costume versus another dude in an insect costume on a miniature set with tiny little bush trees fighting it out. 2021, we get full-on 100 feet CGI monsters fighting to the death. And how awesome was it
really
to see
cool.
Kong try to fight Godzilla underwater, or swinging from the buildings, like, you know, with his opposable thumbs, and like, you know, and then swinging his battle axe and getting it stuck on his leg.
That was really good.
Or him like even grabbing Godzilla and Godzilla like struggling with spicy breath to like get him away.
Trying to get,
It's so epic.
That was really good.
So tell me, did it not sell you on the fights?
No, it did. That's the thing.
So what more do you need?
Oh, I guess, but it's like when, I guess I still want to have that good time when I'm watching the fights, and then when those fights stop, I want to at least still be entertained as of if I'm watching the human characters.
That's fair enough.
Yeah,
that's fair enough.
Yeah.
I can't argue with that.
I want to be like, oh, that was fucking awesome, and just be like, oh, just deflated. And then just like, oh, here it goes. Okay, here it goes. Okay, we're back to the real part of the film. You know?
You use your one cuss word.
Damn.
Next time you say, you gotta give me the marker.
I gotta give you the marker.
No, but I get you. Yeah, no, and look at that. Look at how your your interaction was with that, right? Like you felt the intensity of it, and I get it. You don't want your downtimes to be boring.
No.
So I can understand the frustration there, and I can't even argue with that. Like the downtimes were a little bit kind of like, you know.
Yeah.
I will say one thing that didn't work in this movie. So. You and I are massive nerds, as you can tell from this from this podcast.
Yes.
So when it comes to conspiracy theories that are based on this, that this movie bases its kind of like mythology on, right?
Oh yeah.
They mention the Hollow Earth theory and really sell it to you on that. Okay. Here's the problem with that. I don't think a lot of people know what the Hollow Earth theory is.
So that's another thing. Yeah, you did explain it in a great way after we watched the movie, where it's just like not a lot of people know about it. The movie treats it as if like, yeah, you're aware. If not know, that you're aware of that Hollow Earth theory. But the thing is that the general audience that you're trying to sell this movie to, not just like hardcore fans, but you're trying to sell it to just the general public as well. Yeah, maybe like a good, I would say, what, like 60-70% of people don't really know about that.
Like, this isn't to say that the audience is stupid.
No, we're not saying that. We're just saying
yeah.
we're just saying that, you know, you're not like how we are. Well, we'll look into
tin hats and everything.
Yeah, you know, we'll look into everything, you know, that could be a theory or a conspiracy theory as well too, you know, and then just kind of go with it.
Yeah.
Or just like, oh yeah, that's cool, you know. So
It literally like jumped straight into the theory and gave you like a 30-second spark note version of what it is.
But even then, if I was just like a general audience member just watching that, I'd be like, wait, what's that?
What a world underneath our world?
Like, even then, that doesn't make any sense. You're just like, wait, you didn't explain that well.
So something that was really funny to me was that, and again, the movie didn't sell this well.
Yeah.
Like, it didn't. I understand. This is all fictional. Neil deGrasse Tyson's going to look at this and be like, yo, this is wrong. This can't happen. Whatever.
That's how he is with everything.
Exactly. So they talk about why they can't go to the center or they can't go to like this hollow earth.
Yeah, they try.
Right?
Yeah.
They try, but because of gravitational pull, you instantly get smushed by gravity fighting against each other, right? So they develop these ships that essentially can fight that. And they say, well, when you drop into this and you reach that point of gravitational pull that goes in both ways,
you'll be like slingshotted. Almost.
It'll feel like a bungee cord attached to your intestines.
Yeah, that didn't make any sense.
It made sense at first.
Yeah.
Okay? So it didn't make sense. You say it didn't make sense. Here's where I'm going to say.
Yeah.
It made sense at first, but then when Godzilla blows a giant hole and digs it all the way down to Hollow Earth, and then they go back up, it's like they completely ditched the idea of like that gravitational pull.
Yeah,
they said you can just climb all the way up.
They're on. If you're looking at it, when they enter down, they're like what? Let's say they're right side up. Let's say they're.
There's no right side.
But
hang on.
Or they're like upright.
So they're.
But then
they're like this.
Yeah.
They're like backwards.
You guys see Brian's trying to put his feet in the air.
First they're like this, and then they're like this, and
but then when Godzilla does his atomic breath, they're looking down. They're looking down, so they're actually upside down. Because when he gets his axe, remember when Kong gets his axe, he jumps, and then he's like this. Don't try to do it. There's no point. No one's gonna see you.
It's just to satisfy my own mind at this point.
But yeah. So that's the thing is that when Kong sees Godzilla's, through that hole, he jumps down, and then he's coming up. So at what part, like,
you're right.
Yeah. At what part does he go? Does he feel like the change in the gravitational pull? Same thing with the people on the ship. They're going down.
I'm trying to figure this out using finger puppets. Go one here, one here.
Yeah. So let's say Godzilla.
Jump.
Okay. Yeah. Godzilla.
So unless the gravitational pull is like super heavy as he's falling, right? Let's say that he carries this momentum all the way down.
That's the thing is that that part where it meets is already in the middle of the hollow earth.
Yeah. Oh man, my brain hurts.
See, that's the thing. But
yeah, that doesn't work.
It doesn't work. That's the thing. But at the same time, King of Monsters had a plot hole as well too.
Oh well, yeah.
One in particular is my, what I call is plot armor, where the guy that has been following Godzilla for years, and how he's supposed to recharge Godzilla with a nuclear bomb.
Yeah.
They say in the beginning of that whole scene, right before they enter into that little temple, is that the nuclear waves or heat or the radiation alone will kill you within seconds.
That's right, and he's in there for like 5 freaking minutes.
And they say not even the suit can hold that. Can hold it for like no more than like maybe a couple minutes. But he's in there for a good while. Mind you, he takes off his helmet as well too to touch Godzilla.
It doesn't even burn his skin.
It doesn't even. There's no singeing. There's no like. he's
No
not turning
reaction.
into a burnt raisin or anything like
No,
that.
yeah, I remember that now. I remember, yeah.
And I'm just like, what the heck? They just said that. Oh yeah, you can't survive that. Like, but yeah, he has enough time to be like, Godzilla.
Oh, Godzilla.
Oh, Godzilla. Godzilla. Oh man, no, I'm so sorry I did that.
No, but
that was
honestly,
bad.
that's how he. That's like
how he acted. But I
yeah.
just feel bad I said it like that. I take that back. But yeah, it's just like the way he did. Just like I don't know. It was so because that was the biggest plot hole for me at least.
But it's satisfactory to me because that is a very like iconic kind of like Godzilla moment.
Yeah.
Because in like the old movies, you would have like factions that would like pray and like call upon Mothra, like the twins,
yes,
right? The Mothra, like with Mothra, right? And so it kind of satisfies that because he researched Godzilla. So in that interaction, he does act that way where he's like Godzilla and then like pets him. And then that was his last moment with him because he got to bring Godzilla back to fight off and bring balance to nature again.
Yeah.
All science aside, the scene worked. But again, this movie does not work with science at all.
That's the thing.
Like the theorists like completely spoiled that, or the film theorists, excuse me.
Oh, yeah.
Matt Pat completely said like.
Oh wait, what did he say it verbatim of what happened? Or?
No, no. He predicted that Mechagodzilla was Godzilla with a skin.
Oh, that's right. That was the biggest. Yeah, you know what? After he said that, everyone was like jumping on that,
and it didn't.
And I didn't like. And you know what? I didn't like that theory at all because I was like, that's so stupid.
It made sense to a point.
No, it didn't. Not to me.
It made sense to a point because it was an original plot point in one of the old Godzilla movies where he was dressed up in the skin. Mm-hmm. But I felt like this was better. Yeah. And it didn't hit me until I watched it because, excuse me, we're going to go into the next part that did work. Yeah. It deals a lot with natural balance. Like these are not monsters. They're creatures of nature that, inhabited a prehistoric Earth. And it builds it so well that it like makes sense in science fiction. Mm-hmm. Like there's always going to be an apex predator and Godzilla is that. Yes. So why do Godzilla and Kong fight? Because they're both massive titans that want to try to one up each other. So they've mentioned this before, and even in King of Monsters, they said that one has to reign supreme. Yeah. This battle has been fought over years and years and years. So if they ever meet again and Kong leaves his island, Godzilla's going to sense that threat and be like, no. You need to go back because you're my bitch, And so that fight is natural and they does it so well. Yeah. Why does Godzilla attack the mainland? Because he senses a bigger threat. Yeah. Because they use Ghidorah's skull to activate Mechagodzilla. Mm-hmm. It works. I feel like the major points that work for this movie all revolve around the monsters. When it comes to trying to make sense of the science or the human storytelling aspect, it doesn't. But it gets away with it because they're smaller, fine details. Does that make sense?
No, I get it. Yeah.
Yeah. So because they're so small, it doesn't detract away from the enjoyment of the movie. Mm-hmm. So is there anything else that you kind of want to point out that might have like not worked or worked in this movie? Because I'm trying to go back and thinking of like...
that's the thing. Not really, because I'm trying to... Because those were my main ones, was the whole gravitational thing. And
science is thrown out the window.
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, we're dealing with giant monsters. I mean, we should automatically assume science is out the window, but at the same time, it's like they're making up their own science and they're not keeping up with it. That's the thing.
Yeah.
Another thing.
Oh, real quick, Kong's kind of like backstory, because we did say that this was like a Kong movie.
So Kong's backstory is more fleshed out in this one.
Yeah.
He's essentially like, like us, as like he's seen all this stuff for the first time and stuff.
No,
like we're seeing his perspective a lot in this movie.
Isn't he old enough to know that Hollow Earth was his home originally?
No, because he was born on the island.
Oh, that's right.
But they went back, but they went to the whole theory of like, if for generations, like his ancestry is from the Hollow Earth. Mm-hmm. So at some point, that gene, that memory in his head, with animals, they go back to where they naturally go back to where they come from.
Again, that worked.
Yeah. I think because they said it, it made sense.
And the humans were just there to fulfill something that the monsters couldn't say.
Yeah.
Because
that's the thing and then they did mention that Skull Island was like all hollow in Kong Skull Island
because of the skull crushers, right? What are they called?
The skull crawlers.
Skull crawlers, yeah.
Also, they were dropping like little bombs to get the seismic activity and stuff, and they said like, oh yeah, no, there's a whole nother layer underneath as it goes far. So the whole so it was John Goodman's theory of there is something else underneath the earth.
Hollow Earth.
Hollow Earth.
Yeah.
That was the beginning of it. And they mentioned it again, like, they said how Skull Island was like basically Hollow Earth coming to the surface.
So
I did like that.
Yeah. So it did explain it, like it did work in the sense of like fulfilling Kong's backstory because, like you said, his ancestry kind of led him to go back to this place.
Yeah.
And then when you look at Hollow Earth and everything that remained there, if you're not a fan, and this is, I'm gonna go back and forth here.
Well, yeah,
like did it work and did it not? It did and it didn't.
So the thing is that part of the story for the Hollow Earth thing, that I'll say this, that worked for fans.
Bingo.
But for the general audience, and I'm thinking about it when I watched it, I was like, if I took my girlfriend and she watched that part, she'd be like, so there's just a whole nother world underneath the center of the earth instead of the core. I'm like, yes. It should be like, that's ridiculous. Like,
it doesn't make any sense.
That doesn't make any sense. And I'm like,
I think you went to the restroom at this part.
Yeah.
But did you remember?
You got me a Coke Zero.
Well, I wasn't not gonna get you something. I had a big bucket of popcorn and an icy, so I wasn't gonna eat all that and be like, oh yeah, I didn't get my buddy Rene anything over here. Come on.
But I knew if I was gonna drink that thing, I was like, oh god.
Your bladder hasn't been trained for movies.
It hasn't been trained for movies again, so I have to like. I used to hold my bladder so good. I held my bladder for.
Lord of the Rings or something like that.
No, it was from beginning to end. Like right when the trailer started, I finished a Coke Zero, and I was so thirsty that night. It was for War of Planet of the Apes.
Oh, that's a long movie.
And I held it from beginning to end, right when the trailer started, because I finished my drink. Because we got there a whole hour early.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, I'm so hungry, but I'm really thirsty more. I got a drink, and like I kept sipping at it, kept sipping. And then when the trailers were gone, it was just ice. I'm like, oh no,
I've made a mistake.
Yeah, and the movie started, and right when basically I knew it was gonna happen soon. So right when Woody Harrelson's character infiltrated Caesar's village or whatever, that's when I had to go to the bathroom. And that was early on.
You messed up because that's a movie you can't miss any part of.
No, and I'm sitting there the whole time, and I held it for the entire movie.
I had to backtrack because I was like, it's Dawn, War, and Rise.
Yeah,
in that order. Yeah, such great movies.
No, it's Rise, Dawn, and War. Rise of the Planet of the Apes, Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, and the War of Planet of the Apes.
Okay, so I had it wrong. I gotta watch them again. They're great.
They're
great
so
movies.
Good. My dad bought the whole collection for both the old ones and the new ones on Vudu.
If you want to have your kids grow up and enjoy monsters, you make them watch the Godzilla, the MonsterVerse ones that we're growing up with now. If you want to scar them for life, you make them watch the Planet of the Apes series.
Those are so good movies. But the thing is that the older ones are like, I love how weird the older ones are.
Yeah, but then you watch these and you're like, whoa. But you know what? They all got glam ups because it's like you look at the old Planet of the Apes movies and they were like weird and didn't make any sense. And you get the new ones.
See, the thing
they're
is,
great.
I love the old ones. Not more, but just a little bit, because like in the old ones you have the original. It's like, oh yeah, it's a distant, in a distant planet. Oh yeah. Then we find out, oh, it's just a dystopian Earth. Far into the future that apes have conquered. Then the second one is like, oh yeah, we're gonna take the two main apes and then they're gonna go into some sort of portal at the end of the one. And then in that one, in the next movie, oh, you find out they go to the past, and then for some reason, oh yeah, they worshipped an ape called Caesar in the future. But then we find out that those two apes from the future are actually Caesar's parents.
Didn't the old Planet of the Apes switch like directors multiple times?
Yes, it was different
directors.
Yeah. And then, but what I love though is that they kept with the continuity though, They kept with that.
They tried.
They tried, but they still went. And so then those apes died, but Caesar was born. And then Caesar was the one when the apes were treated as slaves, and then had to rise up.
Yeah.
And then I'm sorry, I'm going through all this. It's just really great, guys. And then Caesar, has his little kingdom and stuff like that. Then there's the virus. Remember the virus and stuff like that? And I think that's how it ends. Right? It doesn't end after that.
They take back some elements in the newer trilogy.
That's the thing.
Yeah,
In the newer
I
trilogy,
liked it.
Yeah.
It was great.
I thought they were going to do the whole time travel thing or something.
Every time I really wish, like, thinking about this, even with like the Godzilla, the MonsterVerse like movies that like have come out now.
Yeah.
I really wish my dad was around to see them. He was around for Godzilla.
Yeah.
I don't think he saw Skull Island.
He didn't see it yet?
No. And then we made it all the way to the second Planet of the Apes movie, and then he passed away after the last one.
Mm-hmm.
And I really wish he was alive to watch the last one, because
He
the
would've
last one
loved it.
the ending was beautiful,
Yeah.
like fantastic, and he would have been so satisfied with it. Even with this, because he was the one that showed me the Godzilla movies.
Yeah.
And so, like, watching this, I'm like, yeah, this is like essentially what would have been his dream to see.
Yeah.
Like, it wasn't men in costume. This was like CGI.
It was CGI
destruction.
heavy. Yeah, like legitly modernize Godzilla and Kong.
Yeah.
Which was really cool to see. I think that's why, that's why I like this movie so much, is because it's just so interesting to see these characters modernize and using the technology now to make a full-fledged, film.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it wasn't like cheesiness or anything like that. So,
I know we went into a long tangent.
yeah.
But going back to the whole, like, the last part that I wanted to mention about, like, did it work or not? Because we were talking about the Hollow Earth portion of it.
Yeah. Oh,
right?
God, man, that really strayed us away.
Yeah, that's straight up so far away.
Because we're 50 minutes in now.
No way.
Yeah, we are.
Wow. But the whole Hollow Earth thing, you went to the restroom at this part, but when Kong goes into like his little place and he sees a throne and stuff.
I rewatched that today. Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny that you mention how this is like okay for fans, because fans would understand this.
Yeah.
Andy's only seen, I believe, King of Monsters. I haven't shown her 2014 Godzilla or Skull Island yet.
Okay.
But if like you didn't understand what was the significance of like Kong, you wouldn't understand how there would be under Hollow Earth or in Hollow Earth a statue, a throne, and all this stuff for like God or for King Kong.
Yes.
Or for someone like Kong, because Hollow Earth essentially the theory works that there was a civilization before us that was all one. And because of the destruction of Hollow Earth, essentially, this civilization split into multiple different civilizations, which we now are a part of, essentially. So this unified civilization probably worshipped, these titans.
Yes.
And that's why they created the throne room. So this is why I'm going to flip back and forth and say it worked for the fans, and I'm totally 100% agreeing with you. It worked for the fans, but in general, for the general public, it doesn't work.
Yes.
I completely understand that. With that said, now that we have 4 movies out there, where does this rank for you? Because I don't know if you've seen the Rotten Tomatoes score. This is the highest one.
Out of all the 4
of them.
films?
Highest in audience and highest in critics.
All right. So, to give my thoughts on...
I'll look it up for you. Go for it.
So, for me, this movie... So, I will start from the lowest to the one I dislike, and then the one I like the most.
Okay.
I start off, obviously, I have to say Godzilla. Godzilla, it was very underwhelming, especially how the trailer pivoted where... I guess the trailer didn't fool us. The trailer did show us, like, what the movie would be, but we took it the wrong way, honestly. How basically the movie barely showed us Godzilla, and we're like, oh, that's gonna be cool, like maybe we'll see more in the film and stuff, but that's not the case. They're just like, no, you probably won't see Godzilla a lot. We're focusing on more like the human element, which is really bad.
And you're talking about the trailer.
The trailer, yeah. And then the movie, when the movie came out, I was very underwhelmed by it. I was trying to say that this movie was good, but then overall, it just wasn't great. I didn't really enjoy it a lot. So, Godzilla 2014?
Godzilla 2014 was the first one.
Yeah, so Godzilla 2014 was, is my least favorite.
Okay.
So, the one coming up, The one next, I guess I would have to say Kong.
Skull Island?
Yeah, Kong Skull Island is the next one. But because, it was fun, though, I obviously do like it more than the original Godzilla because it showed more action. It showed more characters. The characters were more interesting in Kong Skull Island than they were in Godzilla in 2014.
Okay.
And then and that's where it set up everything.
Okay.
It was like, okay, cool. Like we have basically at the end, you see the end credit scene. You see King Ghidorah.
In Skull Island?
And yeah, they show like the little, what is it? Was it because Monarch shows them like, oh yeah, there's more like Kong out there in the world. And they show like these like little
more
cave
Titans
drawings.
out there.
Yeah, more Titans.
Mm-hmm.
They show these like cave drawings of Godzilla and King Ghidorah, and then Rodan and Mothra and stuff like that. They show us all these different Titans and stuff. So that was really cool. That was the setup. So I really enjoyed Kong Skull Island more than Godzilla, but again, the human characters were okay. I think the only one I liked was John C. Reilly's character.
He was like the lead or the partner with John Goodman's character, right?
No, John C. Reilly was the guy that was stuck on the island.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. I haven't seen it in a long time.
Yeah, he was stuck on the island, and he was more funny. He was like the comic relief, but then at the same time, very charming at the same time. He wasn't just funny, but you were like, oh, he's actually a pretty cool character. The next one up, I guess, if I'm going to be completely honest, Godzilla versus King Kong. That's my second favorite.
Don't tell me King of Monsters is your first one.
Yeah.
We had this conversation. You said that King of Monsters was your second.
No, then I thought about it.
Okay, explain yourself. Okay. Explain yourself, because you gave me all this flack for basically saying that King of Monsters was my favorite.
So I rewatched Godzilla versus King Kong, and I realized I do like it. It's a good film. That's the thing.
Mm-hmm.
But I kind of saw everything I was expecting to see, which isn't a bad thing. But I kind of expected, I'm going to see this fight this way, this fight that way. I knew it was going to be like a go back and forth kind of thing, And then, but I think what really kind of like made me kind of meh about it was just the human characters. I didn't really...
Kong versus Godzilla.
Yes. That it was kind of like... I didn't really care. And then they didn't meet. That's the thing. That's still really kind of like... I wanted everyone to meet and just kind of be like, oh, yeah, well, this is that. Godzilla's
You're still
this
stuck
way.
on that aspect.
I'm still, because that would have been really cool. That's the thing. I would have loved to see all these human characters come together and then try to figure out how to stop Mechagodzilla. Not just Godzilla's groupies, but like everyone kind of be like, oh, we gotta team up and figure it all out.
They all figured it out, but on their own way.
Yeah.
In their own way, excuse me. Yeah. Because in order for okay, so I get you. Yeah. I get you on that. Like the whole Mecha Godzilla, like, okay, you wanted it to be not just Godzilla and Kong fighting them and then their groupies figuring out their own thing on their own. But because to me, it felt like at the end, the victors, the ones that did most of the work, were Godzilla's groupies.
Yeah,
because if it wasn't for them, then Mecha Godzilla would have crumbled and, would have basically beat everyone. He would have like put that freaking tail in his eye and whatnot, in Kong's eye, right? But you also have to realize that Kong's groupies did the same thing, because if it wasn't for them restarting his heart, we wouldn't have... Godzilla would have been torn apart.
That's the thing. And I feel like the reveal of Mechagodzilla didn't have me hyped. And I think because it was not spoiled, but just like it was mentioned in the marketing and stuff like that. If they didn't mention Mechagodzilla at all in any sort of videos, if it was just theories that fans were just saying that like, oh, this could be Mechagodzilla, I'm like, yeah, that's fine. Like, if it is, it is.
Yeah.
But but that's the thing. I liked Mechagodzilla, but at the same time, I was a little underwhelmed by Mechagodzilla.
Okay.
I don't know.
Okay.
At least...
All right.
At least the fight, because when I go into King of Monsters, when you see the fight between Godzilla and King Ghidorah,
the final fight,
you feel it. You feel that hype. you're like, oh yeah, this is it. Like, you know, and especially how King
see.
Ghidorah comes on for the first time on screen when they're in the Antarctic. And
In
like
Antarctica?
the way, yeah, when they're in Antarctica and like he comes from the ice and everything, it's so cool looking. It's so badass, but you're so afraid. You're like, oh crap, you know, and that's it. And then when he fights Godzilla, you're like, damn.
I 100% agree with you.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
It's that
Okay.
moments when you're watching it and you're like, you know it's gonna happen though. That's the thing. You know these characters are gonna meet, but the way they did it was really good. In King Kong versus Godzilla, the only time you feel like that is when the first time they're fighting is in the water.
Okay, disagree. Disagree.
Yeah.
Are you done or
No, that's it. I mean, that's
Okay.
what I'm saying. It's like that's the reason why, you know, at least King of Monsters is my favorite, at least number one favorite.
okay?
Godzilla is just a close second, but again, there was more of those hype moments in King of Monsters.
Okay. So, for me, none of these movies rank beneath like a 6 on the scale. Even like Godzilla is like the first one, 2014,
Yeah.
is a 6. It's a solid 6.
Yeah.
And the only reason I give it that is because I enjoyed the beautiful cinematography that was done for it. Like the entire time you were anticipating what Godzilla would look like.
Yeah.
And then when you finally see him, it's towards the end. Yes, granted, you're not satisfied because you want to see Godzilla in a movie called Godzilla.
Yeah.
But it was still shot so beautifully. Even the Halo drop scene was like gorgeous.
That
to
was
watch.
actually really cool. I did like that where they're dropping and then you just see Godzilla and stuff like
Yeah,
that. Or
that
like
was
when they shoot the
beautiful.
flare and it goes up and then you see Godzilla's scales and I'm just like, oh,
It's so
that's
beautiful.
so trippy.
Yeah, the entire movie is just like anticipation. The movie.
Yeah.
That's all it is.
Anticipation.
The movie.
The movie.
The second one, again, I'm going to go with you on this one, Kong Skull Island, but for different reasons. I am not that much of a fan of King Kong.
Yeah.
Did I say Godzilla Skull Island? I should have said Kong Skull
It's
Island.
Kong Skull Island. I
I
don't
don't know
remember
why.
now.
Yeah, if I said Godzilla Skull Island, I apologize.
The listeners like, what?
What? Kong Skull Island is second from the bottom, and that's just because I'm not that big of a King Kong fan. But I still enjoyed the storytelling development that came with it, and amongst all the other movies, this one had the better human aspect. It told the story of the human characters better, and it wasn't, a subplot to King Kong's story. It was enough of King Kong to get you to understand what his significance was, but it didn't overshadow the human element of it.
I see
You
what you
still
mean,
got your
yeah.
different characters trying to figure out what's going on out there, why they're there, what's going on, what are these skull crawlers, what's the hollow earth theory, and all this other stuff. And then you get the end credit scene that anticipates the next movie.
Yeah.
Godzilla versus Kong is second for me.
Mm-hmm.
In rank is second.
Yeah.
Only because, one, it was a King Kong movie, and
Yeah.
I was expecting a shared movie,
Yeah, no, I see what you mean, yeah.
and it wasn't.
Mm.
Right? I still enjoyed the fights. I still loved them. And I said that I disagreed with you that the only part where you actually felt the intensity of a fight was the ocean fight.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to disagree and say that the intensity came in the Hong Kong fight,
Oh, okay.
because that one was like the title fight. That was
Yeah.
like, hey, this is where it matters. You are no longer fighting. Like Godzilla got round 1 in his territory.
Yeah.
Then we're getting round 2 in King Kong's territory. Here's why you kind of feel that element of like intensity in this one. It's because Godzilla wins the first one in the ocean because he's a lizard and can swim, and King Kong can't. In the second fight in Hong Kong, when the buildings are up, who has the advantage? King Kong.
King Kong, yeah.
Because he can swing from the buildings
can
and
climb
use the
up,
cover,
yeah.
and he can it's basically escape the atomic breath. But when he knocks Godzilla down, the playing field is even. No more buildings. It's flat land. Now you're going to get round 2.5, and it's going to be a fair fight. That's where the intensity lies, because you think Godzilla's going down. He's got a crippled knee. Like, this could be the end for him. You think that it's over, and then nope, tables turn.
Yeah.
So that's where I feel the intensity.
Okay.
King of Monsters is my top for a different reason.
Mm-hmm.
It is the first movie I've seen in 4D. I went to go see it with my fiance, and it changed the way I look at cinema forever.
Yeah.
Holy crap, was that such a fun movie to watch in 4D?
Yeah.
Because one of my favorite scenes, and I will look at this, I wish I could experience this, you know, when they see Godzilla underneath the water and his heart's beating and the scales glow. That part in 4D is so intense because I already knew what was going to happen.
Yeah.
My fiance's never seen it, so she's like, dum, dum. Silence. Boom! And the chair shook. And she's like, oh my God. And I'm like, yes, because that's what you should be feeling. You know, when Rodin's fighting alongside the other jets and he does that barrel roll, you felt it. You felt the water in the air all over. It's like, it was such a great cinematic experience to see it. Like, you could make King of Monsters into a 4D ride and you would still enjoy it. But you are 100% right.
Yeah.
The fights with Godzilla and Ghidorah are some of the most intense and, you know, fulfilling fights you'll ever see in these MonsterVerse movies because there's actual intensity. You have moments where you feel like Godzilla is outnumbered because he was outnumbered. You're fighting a 3-headed beast and a giant pterodactyl.
Yeah.
And then the only time he has any sort of advantage is when Mothra decides to show up. But even still, she only shows up for a bit.
Yeah.
And still Godzilla has to fight all these other people or all these you know, all these other titans.
Yeah.
So yes, there is intensity and there's loss. It's much more fulfilling. King of Monsters is just a much better MonsterVerse movie in terms of these four.
Definitely.
So I completely 100% agree on that. This isn't to say that, you know, Godzilla versus Kong is a lesser movie.
Yeah.
It's still great.
No, that's the thing. I don't hate the movie at all. It's just there's different reasons why one is favored than the other.
Yeah.
But still great films.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think Rotten Tomatoes, I couldn't find the photo or the link that had it, but I think King of Monsters is ranked second. It has a higher critic score than user score or audience score. And then Kong versus Godzilla has a higher critic score and lower audience score, but it's still the highest ranked amongst all of them.
That's funny.
Which is great, but the way I see it is that Godzilla versus Kong is like what you expect a monster movie to be like, plus a little bit more. It's enjoyable and it's great, and you're not going to be disappointed watching it. If you're expecting a plot, though, what the hell are you doing? There's no plot.
Yeah.
It's just two monsters fighting.
Basically.
Yeah. We do have to wrap this podcast up.
Yes.
So let's make this segment as quickly as possible.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, Mechagodzilla. I completely forgot to mention that.
I know, yeah.
He was just a secondary character. It was like, I feel like that's probably why it's lesser to me in that sense and still ranked second. Mechagodzilla was badass, but he was the reason as to why the two needed to team up.
Yeah.
He felt secondary. He didn't feel like a natural fit.
And I feel like, because I always enjoyed Mechagodzilla, and I feel like like you said, they treat him as a secondary character, where that could have been used, he could have been used, or Mechagodzilla could have been used in a much more different way.
They needed a reason for them to team up.
Yeah.
And that was it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, in terms of the last subject that we want to talk about, which is the fight, I pretty much explained it in my overview of Godzilla versus Kong.
Yeah.
We get 3 fights. Initially, 2.5.
Yes.
So in the water, in Hong Kong,
yeah, and then
complete, and Hong Kong destroyed.
Yes.
Who won, Rene? Who's the king of all titans, Rene? Tell me.
Us.
No.
We all won, guys.
No.
Because this movie was made.
I love how that's your excuse because you don't want to admit that your boy got beat.
He didn't get beat.
He got beat. He got embarrassed. Literally, Godzilla put his
broken, dislocated, and
he dislocated his
he
shoulder.
pulled a Murtaugh at the end of this movie as well too.
That was such a badass scene.
And they even what is it? They even recognized that in the ending credits.
They
said Lethal Weapon 2 on there.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah. They even said Lethal Weapon 2 copyrighted. So I was like, oh shit. Oh jeez.
That's such a great okay, that fight at the end when King Kong gets revived and he does that shoulder crack to get it back in place, then I started to ruin for your boy. I was like, heck yeah, let's go.
That's true.
Round 3.
But, yes, to admit that in the definite winner in this film, Godzilla won.
My boy, Godzilla. That's right. Let it be known that this movie confirmed Godzilla is the baddest of all titans. King of freaking monsters, Rene. Your boy got annihilated. Shoulder dislocated, heart almost stopped, stomped on his chest, yelled at him and said, "Guess what, bitch? I won." Didn't even deliver the final blow. He left him there to die in peace. You're going to die on your own account. Not because I beat your ass, but because I'm leaving you here until your heart stops. And then he walked away. And my boy still got up to fight Mechagodzilla. What do you got to say about that, Rene? Team King Kong over here? I'm done. Oh, it feels so great to see him win.
Thank you guys for listening to this episode of the Keep It Up with the Nerds. If you guys want to find...
Just wrap it up right there.
Just wrap it up. Honestly, that's it. There's nothing more to talk about. So we will wrap this episode up, guys.
That's great.
So Bryan, tell all the listeners where they can find us and how they can keep up with the show.
Yes, of course. So if you guys are listening to this on audio platforms, know that we do have a YouTube channel. Search up Keeping Up with the Nerds on YouTube, subscribe, and hit that notification button. We've got weekly videos being uploaded because of Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and we're going to continue this until pretty much we're like tired out.
Basically.
Yeah, but content constantly every week on there, videos discussing the show, and our podcasts are also uploaded there. So if you have, YouTube Premium or anything like that, or you want to listen to this podcast on YouTube, feel free to do so on that. If you're listening to this podcast on YouTube, please go ahead and visit us on any of our audio platforms: Spotify, Podbean, Google Podcasts, and Apple Podcasts. All our episodes are uploaded every Wednesday at 11:30. If you are listening to this on a platform that allows for ratings, please let us know what you think. Give us a rating on Apple Podcasts, 5-star, whatever you feel like. Honestly, no pressure.
Yeah.
But let us know what you guys think. If you want to keep up with anything that we are uploading or anything new, we do have social media platforms. We have a Twitter and Instagram. Just look up Keeping Up with the Nerds. We also have a TikTok. We haven't been using it, but we do. If you want to see anything on there, I know Rene uploads a couple clips every week. So, visit us and follow us on there as well. With that said, thank you guys for listening to us, for supporting us. We've had great numbers, honestly, in terms of listeners and stuff. On Podbean, it gives us a little preview of who's been listening, and it's not just been in the States, it's been in Europe as well.
Really?
It's so great. So if you're one of those people that is listening to us, we appreciate and love you guys. And comment on our social medias and let us know what you guys think.
Yes.
We want to interact with you guys and shout you out as well. So we appreciate everyone. We love you all. Rene, is there anything else you want to add, or you want to wrap this up?
No, that's pretty much it. Thank you guys for listening, and just if you want to keep up what we're doing and how we're doing, just follow our social medias.
Of course.
Yes. All right.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. Thank you, citizens, for listening to this issue of Keeping Up with the Nerds Variety Hour. I am your host, Rene.
And this is Bryan.
Coming to you from 12920 Philadelphia Street, Whittier, California, recording at Undercity Comics. We thank you, citizens, once again, and hope to see you all next time.